Okay, so as you can see now, we are in the foyer of our Victorian home, and this space really kind of went through quite a big transformation. When we first bought the home, it had black wallpaper on the walls, and as you can see, it's kind of a darker home to begin with. There's lots of dark, rich woodwork, which we really love, but it does lack a lot of natural light. So one of the things that I did to this space to brighten it up was to remove the wallpaper and paint the walls white, but then to add some texture and some interest, I stenciled this damask pattern on the walls in a really subtle kind of a chameleon color, kind of a blue, gray, green. It can kind of swing both ways depending on what you pair it with. But I really love just the texture that it added to the walls, and it's just subtle and soft and pretty. And I think it really kind of speaks to the French country, kind of European decor aesthetic that I love so much. But there's a lot of things in this space that I have found secondhand and thrifted and given makeovers to. Okay, this little area over here, again, it's mostly decorative. It could be probably more functional, but the thought of having our ugly coats and things hanging off of this and looking at them every day is just not the most appealing to me. So I do change this out seasonally and try and add in, you know, whatever theme I'm going with that year, but I still try and keep it, you know, with items that would naturally kind of be here at the front door next to your entryway. So the shelf was thrifted. Actually, everything was thrifted. Everything is either thrifted, flea market finds, antique stores. So when you first walk into the foyer, I always have loved the idea of having a table in the center of the room with some floral arrangements. And this room is definitely big enough to have something like that going on. So I found this table, again, out thrifting at, I think, Goodwill for like $8. And I loved the color that it already was and the size and the shape. It's just perfect in here. And then I do have a Balsam Hill arrangement on here right now. So this piece is actually supposedly from Little House on the Prairie. I don't know if it's the exact piece that was in the show or if it's just a very similar piece that was seen in the show. I don't even know what scene or anything like that, but when we bought it at one of my favorite little stores in a very small little town near us here in mid-Michigan, that is what they told us, and I just have always loved the whole aesthetic and charm and everything of Little House on the Prairie, so that really just made me want to bring it here. And I had other plans for it. I wanted it to go on the second floor, but it's a one piece and we were not able to get it up there. So it's in the foyer for now, and it's being used as storage for all of my filming equipment and stuff. So it is nice storage, but I do kind of dream of having like a big wardrobe or something here with mirrored front panels, just for some extra storage, because all we have is one tiny little coat closet to store all of our shoes and coats and things. So we're really lacking storage in this old house. And then in here we have the kids' playroom, and we just gave this room a big makeover recently by adding the wall mural and painting everything and new light fixture and new rug, and I think it just turned out so charming and sweet. I do have the full room makeover video on my channel on Old Maple Home, so if you want to watch that, you can go to a room makeovers playlist or scroll through my videos. It's not too far down the list of the most recent ones, but it just is a happy, cheerful room to look into now from the multiple different rooms of the house. It's colorful and it's fun, and I think come winter when everything outside is gray and kind of dead, having all of this color and this cheerfulness is really going to help us get through those winter blues. Okay, I recently found this coat rack from the thrift store, and I like having that here in the corner. I just have some thrifted baskets hanging off of it and a little summer hat that I wore to the beach when we went to Florida. And then these light fixtures here are something that I found at a flea market, and my husband rewired them, and he added a little switch so that I could turn the lights, the candles on and off, and I have these little flicker bulbs in here, so it has that feeling of like a gas lantern kind of. I refinished the patina on it. It was very kind of brassy looking, and I wanted something a little more rustic and aged, so I took some rub and buff and kind of gave it some patina. But these are fun having in the foyer. I think they're actually supposed to be outdoor lights, but we repurposed them for in here. Okay, well, welcome to our breakfast room, as we call it. It's right off of our kitchen, and it's just kind of a bonus space, but we do use it primarily for dining, for crafts, and I actually have a big cabinet in here that's acting as my pantry since I don't have a pantry. Yeah, we love this space. It's bright and it's cheerful, and for summer I have it decorated with a lot of yellows and blues. Yellow always feels very summery to me, so we have some florals in here, some yarrow with the yellow and yellow gingham, and just accents here and there with the pops of blue, and lots of plates on the wall. I keep this room with all of my Courier and Ives collection that I have found at thrift stores. So that's in the little corner cabinet as well as in the big cabinet there and on the walls. And yeah, I love this space. It's cheerful and it's charming, and I even have visions of maybe bringing even more yellow into the space, so we'll see. And this is just our little downstairs powder room. It's just a cute, again, bright little space, a little bathroom, kind of just off of the breakfast room there. And yeah, I have big plans for this room, and you're actually about to see right now what I have planned, and I'm going to walk you through my ideas because eventually when we get to this room, that's going to be a really fun makeover, and of course I'm going to share the whole process with you on my channel. So let's take a look at how I put together my mood board to come up with my ideas for how I want to execute giving this room a big makeover. Now allow me to walk you through my creative process for this space and how Milanote is helping me put together all of my exciting ideas into a neat and visually dynamic mood board. So Milanote is a tool for organizing your creative projects, and it's available for free with no time limit. I will leave a link for you in the description below so that you can sign up for free and start using Milanote to create your next project, no matter how big or small. But Let's get back to the fun part of creating this mood board for a future bathroom makeover that I'm hoping to tackle soon, and how I used Milanote's unique features to put all of my creative ideas that are floating around in my head onto the screen here so that I can see how everything plays together. And this really helped me to get more ideas and to even get more creative with what I already had kind of floating around in my head. Now, Milanote offers a lot of templates just to help you get started with how to lay out your board, but I think for this one I am just going to go with an empty board and jump off from there. Another thing I love about using Milanote that made it so easy and quick to navigate things was to use their web browser clipper. And this handy web extension is going to allow you to search the internet, go to any website, and grab different elements from that website that you want to place into your template. I love that I could just save all of these images right from Pinterest without having to go back and forth to my Milanote board and Pinterest. They were all just there waiting for me, and they knew exactly what board that they were meant to be in. Now, the main feature of this bathroom makeover is going to be the wallpaper. I really want something with a lot of contrast, definitely with the blues and the creams or whites. So I just searched up my wallpaper ideas and found them. And then what you can do is just grab the link from that particular item or element and stick it into your board, and then an image of that item will actually pop up and a little description. That way you know exactly where everything came from. You just click on it from your Milanote board and it's all organized for you. You don't have to try and remember where you found this and that. It's all together in one place. So that to me makes everything way more efficient when I'm ready to go ahead and purchase my design elements for the space that I am giving a makeover to. And here's a feature that I really enjoyed playing with on Milanote, and that is these paint swatch elements that you can grab from the sidebar here. So you can create as many as you want, and then what you're going to do is take an eyedropper tool for each of these and hover it over any color in the photos that you really like, and Milanote is going to grab that color for you, and it's even going to give it a little name, which I thought was really cute. But this definitely helped to get that color palette decided upon. So I think that this is a must if you're working on a project where you're going to have to put together a whole color story. Definitely use this color swatch element. Let's keep assembling all of the different design elements for this downstairs bathroom makeover. I know that I want some gold and brass elements in the room. I think that will play beautifully with all of the richer blues and the deeper wood tones that I'm hoping to bring in. I think that a wooden toilet seat looks very vintage to me, so we'll be replacing the current one with a really rich deep wood tone wooden toilet seat bowl. I also thought it would be fun to pay attention to some of the smaller details in the room, like the toilet handle, and get something that looked old and vintage. Again, that will help to bring in some more of the brass elements into the room. But as I'm going through and creating my bathroom makeover board, I'm also adding in little notes here and there to just help me kind of stay on task with the things that we will need to do in this space in order to achieve this look that I'm going for. And you can even create it in checklist form or headings. And if you're the type of person who really likes to organize your thoughts, if you're a note taker, anything like that, then I know that you will have a blast like I did using Milanote to compile all of your many creative ideas into one place with all of these different template ideas and elements to bring all of your ideas to life in a visual way. So I want to say thank you again to Milanote for sponsoring this portion of the video. And again, I invite you to check the link down in the description below so that you can sign up for Milanote, start playing with it. If you're anything like me, you'll find it relaxing and enjoyable. But without further ado,
let's get back to the home tour. I still have a lot to show you.
Welcome to our very small kitchen. Small, but thankfully bright and full of a lot of character. So this kitchen actually was remodeled right before we purchased the home. And if I'm being honest, I kind of preferred the old kitchen just because it had more of the vintage looking cabinets and solid wood cabinets, which was always nice. But I like things to kind of be almost like a blank slate and start out with that vintage character, and then I can add, you know, my design elements and stuff to that. But it is a beautiful kitchen. We do wish it was maybe a little bit bigger, but we're making it work for now. Victorian homes are notorious for having very small kitchens, so that's what we're working with here, but thankfully it's very bright. And one thing that we did to really brighten up this room was to remove the microwave that was over the stove, and that actually made a huge impact on the space, making it feel more bright and open and airy. And I do have a full video on that whole process of how we did that, and that was a fun video to make and watch. And then another thing that I added recently in here is this little island. I've always wanted an island in my kitchen. This kitchen is so small that obviously it was a little tricky to find something that would work in here that wouldn't impede our space too much. But I found this old antique washstand, and we made some changes to it in order to make it a little bit more like an island. So one of the main things we did was raised it up so it was a little bit more flush with the counter height, and we just used some legs on wooden casters to do that. And then another thing I did was add this bar on the back where we can hang our pots and towels and whatnot, and that's actually been really handy just to keep our pots on here since we are lacking a lot of storage in this space. But I have a lot of copper accents in here, and typically I would think of copper as fall, but I keep it up all year round now. And then for the seasons, I will just add in a lot more warmer tones and things like pumpkins and gourds and all that stuff. Very bright. I love all the natural light in here, all the big windows. It's a really nice space to have. A lot of people love our laundry room. I wish I loved it as much. It still doesn't really encourage me to want to do laundry, but it is a really fun room to decorate and to photograph and stuff. This room is probably the most like cottagey looking room that I have in the house. Yes, I think just having all of the shiplap on the walls is what gave it that kind of more casual, cottagey feel to me, so I just leaned into that. But I do love the original beadboard ceilings in here. I love that every room in this house has some depth with the rich wood tones. Again, it's just that contrast that I love about our house, the contrast between the light and the dark. I just think it makes it really striking and beautiful. But so that's what I'm always trying to play with the decor, is creating a balance of that contrast. So we had the darker ceiling, so I went with a lighter light fixture, and I thought this one was kind of fun. Again, it's a little bit more on the shabby chic kind of cottage side. I spray painted it and distressed it, and I liked the little drippy beads. It reminds me of like a faucet, so I thought that was appropriate for a laundry room. And then just a lot of the decor I have in here, again, is just something that you would maybe find in a utility room. So I like to keep my decor purposeful, as far as I don't like putting random things in random places in random rooms. I want them to like feel like this is where they would have been, this is where they belong. Regardless of how good it looks, I still think that I can achieve a really nice aesthetic with things while still being conscious of the fact that this is a piece of decor that probably would have been in a laundry room, if that makes sense. That's just something that I've created a rule for myself to do that with my decor, just because it makes the most sense to me. So like we have a printer's tray, but then I've loaded it up with little spools of thread that I have found over the years, and it looks like my kids have been taking those down and taking the thread off, because it looks like there's quite a few missing. So it's just part of decorating when you have little ones. They like to lend a helping hand. But the buffet in here, this was in our dining room, and we just weren't really using it, and I got a new piece of furniture in there, so I thought that we should bring it in here under these big windows and use this as like a folding table. And again, much needed storage, because we just don't have much storage at all in this house, so it's worked out really great in here. And again, it just adds that warmth, the rich, the darker wood tone in here against all the white. So that is our laundry room. Welcome to our newly made over dining room. So this was a recent makeover that we have done on the channel. There's a whole video on it. The befores and afters, the whole process, decorating, everything. So the main thing that I wanted to do in this space was to embrace the moodiness of it that it naturally has. No matter what I do to this room, it's dark and it's moody. They're meant to be, you know, kind of moody and very cozy and calm in a sense. So this is not a room we spend a lot of time in at all. When I host holidays, then we will use this space. But other than that, it really does not get used, unfortunately. So I just kind of took that as my opportunity to have fun in here, do something different. So the main thing about this room is I wanted to color drench it in a beautiful green, and after probably 20 samples of paint later, I finally found the mid-tone green that I was envisioning, and this is what we ended up with. I do question whether or not I want to leave the ceiling green forever, or if we should paint that back to a lighter color, but for now, I'm glad that I just went with my gut and just did something totally out of the box for me, out of my comfort zone. But I do love all of the green with the warm wood tones. And I just think this space is its own unique space amongst the different rooms of the house. But when you look throughout the home, there is some cohesion since I use all blues and greens in every room of the house. And I just love the old world feel that this room has, which is really what I wanted to capture. So a lot of things in here are very antique. I tried to keep this room with as much antiques and things in it as I could, just to really embrace that old world feel that we have in here. And I went for a very like New England kind of old world New England kind of a look in here. I'm always inspired by the fact that our house was built by a sea captain. And we live in Michigan, we're surrounded by lakes and tons of coastline. And so I love adding ships and nautical elements where I can, like shells, things like that, to give a nod to the history there. So our home was built around 1890 by a Navy sea captain who's also a surgeon. And he spent, I want to say 20 to 30 years building this home and making changes, I think, along the way. From what we have gathered, we suspect that the beams and some other features were maybe added a little bit later on to kind of evoke the craftsman style that was really popular at the time, 20, 30 years after the home was built. And you can kind of tell that they were added because the actual design of the woodworking is different than like the baseboards and a lot of the trim around the windows, and just the color is different. The aging of it looks different. So I thought that was really interesting that they were kind of making changes along the way. I also suspect that maybe some of the arches were added later on, but I think everything that they did with the house just added more and more character. So this piece right here is also a Facebook Marketplace find, and I absolutely adore this piece. I think it just anchors the whole room. It is the perfect shade, this really rich, warm oak finish. It goes with all of the wood beams in the house beautifully, so it all just kind of feels like it's cohesive and it all marries together really beautifully. And I was so lucky to be the one to get it, because many people had wanted to also bring this beauty home. So I got lucky that day, but it's just such a beautiful antique piece. The scale is perfect. And then I just have it filled with my collection of milk glass. That was one of the first things that I started thrifting when we bought this house. I just liked the simplicity of it, and I like having just all one solid color in here. It's just a little bit more simple for your eye to focus on just one collection of things. And you'll see as we walk through the house, I have a lot of shelves, and they're all styled with a lot of different things. So this is the one cabinet that I kept very simple, and I love it. So along with the wallpaper removal of this space, I also brightened up this fireplace. The brick on here was very dated, not original to the house whatsoever. I would have loved to see what the original fireplace looked like, but it was just very red and rustic looking, not like in a pretty way, very deep grout. And so what I did was take some white chalk paint and just stipple that on, not perfectly, not super solid. And yeah, I really love how much that brightened up the space and kind of took away that dated element that just didn't really fit with the rest of the house. And then this insert is also very dated and was kind of an eyesore just a big black box. So I thought I wanted to try and create something that reminded me of a fireplace you would see in a historical home that had all of the Delft tiles on it. So I found some decals on, I think, Etsy, and I simply put these on here and sealed them in with some heat resistant Mod Podge. And I really love the effect that that gives. It's just an extra pop of color and pattern in here. And yeah, it kind of made the insert look a little bit more special, a little bit more intentional. So one of these days I would love to do something different with this fireplace and make it feel a little bit more historical. But for now, we love having cozy fires sitting here next to the fire and cozying up on these cold Michigan days, especially in this big drafty house. So we love this spot. And then the stools that I have here, these were just purchased off of Amazon, and I went ahead and added the tassel around the fronts and the sides here. And I think that just gave them a really cute little touch of charm and character that they didn't have to begin with. So something super simple and easy to do like that. So as I said earlier, we have a lot of shelves in this house, a lot of open shelving. So these back here, the bookshelves, I did not keep so simple. I really loaded them up with all my different collections of things and treasures, but what I did try and do is keep a consistent color scheme throughout. So even though it's a lot of stuff, visually it quiets it down a little bit, knowing that there's that cohesion between everything as far as with the color scheme. And I tried to balance the color from shelf to shelf, so to create some type of symmetry, I guess, and some flow. But yeah, everything on these shelves has been found secondhand and thrifted. So everything is kind of has like its own little story, and I try and remember where I found everything, and makes it fun knowing that I had to hunt for all of these things that you see here, and then to put them all together and how they all tell a story. But I love the blues with a little bit of whites and some of the warmer colors together. I think it just all looks really pretty with just the whole scheme of the house. And I do sometimes switch these out for the seasons, but lately I just have not had the energy to, so they kind of stay this way, and then maybe I'll add in some seasonal elements like a pumpkin here or there or something like that, or some Christmas ornaments, something like that. I do change the plates out on top here of the arch seasonally, so I've learned that it's best to just keep things a little bit more simple and not try and redo every nook and cranny of decor in the house for every season, because it's beginning to be a little bit too much work for me at this season of life.